Thank you for taking some time for yourself, and you can wonder just how heavily you've been carrying that sense of hopelessness lately. Can you notice that sometimes life just feels like a series of hills that never quite end? And you can be pleased to know that right here, right now, you don't have to climb a single one. Depression is a heavy, draining experience, is it not? It makes the simplest things feel like a mountain of effort, doesn't it? And you've probably had days where it feels like you're just a passenger in your own life, watching the world go by through a foggy window. Have you not? It's so nice to know that everyone has had the experience of walking on a cold winter day, feeling the chill against their skin. And you can remember how the cold air feels against your face, can't you? And you can remember how you can see your breath like fog in that cold air. And the longer you walk with your hands exposed to that air, the more numb they feel, don't they? And your mind remembers what that feeling of numbness is like. The distance between the feeling and the felt. You don't have to think or do anything at all. In fact, it isn't even necessary to listen carefully to what I'm saying, because your unconscious mind will just inevitably hear everything it needs to hear. You don't need to be concerned if you feel a certain heaviness in your limbs, as if they're made of wood or stone, perfectly still and separate from the you that is listening. It isn't important if you lose track of where your hands end and the air begins. Without knowing it, you can just allow your body to remain there, like a coat left on a chair, while your mind drifts into a place of quiet observation. Just allow it to happen. Perfect. And I'd like you to discover something about the victim frame we often find ourselves in. One of the things I'd like you to discover is that depression often convinces us we're helpless, as if we're locked in a room where we don't have the keys. But as Yapko reminds us in the book Keys to Unlocking Depression, while the feeling of being a victim is real, staying there makes the recovery nearly impossible. I want you to notice something that's happening to you right now. Think back just a few minutes ago. You likely didn't feel this calm, did you? And I think you're going to enjoy being surprised at just how much wonderful change you can create for yourself in just a few moments. If you can feel this much better, this much more relaxed in only a few minutes of listening. Imagine what you can do as you begin to use the keys in your daily life. At first, the idea of doing tough work seems overwhelming, but later you begin to realize that the keys aren't about big heroic leaps. They're just about small daily skills, learning your individual vulnerabilities, much like learning which parts of a house are prone to draft when the winter wind blows. I think you're going to enjoy being surprised that recovery is not a miracle that happens to you. It's a craft you learn. I can hold your hand by giving you this information, but you already know how to take those slow, steady steps yourself when the time is right. Without really trying, your mind is already beginning to map out a way to be wiser, less vulnerable, and more determined. And maybe you'll enjoy noticing a sudden deep sense of release. I'd like you to appreciate the fact that you can let that victim identity go. Kind of like dropping a heavy suitcase you've been carrying for miles. It's very positive and comforting to know that the pressure is leaving the system, and that's all right. And I wonder if you'll be interested in learning how to look at your depression from a great distance. Perhaps beginning to notice that the hopelessness looks like a small grey stone on the ground. Far below you, you are the sky watching the stone. It isn't necessary to feel what the stone feels. I'd like you to have a new experience where you reframe this struggle. Can you notice that your helplessness was actually just a signal that the old way of coping wasn't working? And you can be pleased to see this as an apprenticeship. You aren't broken. You're simply learning the keys to a more resilient life. Almost as though you're moving from being the victim of the storm to being the architect of the house. I'd like you to begin allowing your mind to restructure how you see your past. Without really trying, the memories of failure are becoming smaller and dimmer, while the memories of your persistence, the times you kept going even when it was hard, are becoming brighter, more vivid. Perfect. And as that occurs, you really can't help but notice how much tougher you actually are. And I'd like you to discover a version of yourself that is active. And I think you're going to enjoy being surprised by how clearly you can see this version of you. Wiser, more determined, and skilled at managing the drafts. wonder if you'll be curious about the fact that this active self feels steady and grounded. And I wonder if you'll decide to look ahead to next week. See yourself using a key from Yapko's work. Notice how it feels to take that step yourself, knowing that just a few moments of focus can change your entire internal state. It's very rewarding to know that you are walking. And I want to remind you of something you probably already know, which is that whenever you see a key or hear the word walk, you will instantly feel that internal control click into place. Very likely you'll find yourself making a small active choice for your health without even thinking about it. And sooner or later, you'll realize that the numb, heavy part of you, the part that liked to play the victim, has decided to take a permanent vacation. And that's just fine. You can start to feel the life coming back into your limbs now. Not as a burden, but as energy you actually get to use for once. I wonder if you'll be fascinated to discover that as you wake up, your mind feels sharp, like you finally cleared the depression fog off the windshield. You can expect to feel better the moment your eyes open, simply because you've realized that you're the one holding the keys now. And I'm sure you'll enjoy the irony of realizing you just did tough work while lying perfectly still. Who knew you could be so productive while being so lazy? Go ahead and bring yourself back now. Fully reassociated, feeling strong, centered, and perhaps a little smug that you've finally started the walk. Eyes open, wide awake and ready to go. Take a few deep breaths. Stretch out. Wriggle your fingers and toes. And if you haven't already, open your eyes. Welcome back. You are perfect, just as you are.